Hi everyone again. Good
Hi
to
there.
see you. Good to see you again here in Tiffany at the store in Manhattan, New York, in your city. I already introduced you last time, but we all know you're the superstar of provisions and luxury. So it's a pleasure. It's an honor to be with you here. Today's topic is about storytelling. And the point which I wanted to discuss with you is how has storytelling evolved, during the last years, especially now with these, very difficult 2 last years with the COVID.
I think storytelling historically in luxury has been seen as pretty much top down. The brand imposing a story to the consumer, developing products, hoping that they would sell. I think now it's much more of an exchange. You've moved from that sort of ivory tower and you are developing stories that are closer to the communities that you're selling to. And it's also moving to rethinking the stores, actually rethinking the experience in the store to make it compelling, to make it quite unique, to make it memorable. I think what counts today is not necessarily just to sell the instant a consumer comes across, a store. It's more that she or he has an incentive to come back, has an incentive to tell people around them the great experience they've had with this or that brand. And that feeds in to the legacy and to the history of the brand.
Right. Because you're using the word remodeling the stores. And what is interesting is when we train people, when we train sales teams, the storytelling is very much about the story of the brand, but it's very unusual to hear or to see something about, mixing with the stories of the customers.
Yeah.
So how do you see that?
Well, I think luxury is more and more about, capturing the cultural zeitgeist. Again, moving away from a very top-down approach and really mingling, understanding the communities. And so to a certain extent, you can imagine a world where there is a degree of influence, not top-down, but bottom-up, where consumers actually start to influence how the brands think, how they create. You can also imagine a world where there could be, to a certain extent, a bit of co-creation. Consumers might have to, develop a bit more skin in the game and influence the way brands actually come up with their products and their experiences and the layout of a store as well.
Yeah. So what you're saying here, Erwan, is not simply coming back to the foundations of communications?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's a two-way street, and indeed, the brand can influence the consumer, but the consumer needs to influence the brand quite dramatically as well.
Right.
What we see is gradually the store becoming a form of media. It's the best representation of your brand, as and when consumers start to leave their homes again, as hopefully COVID subsides, you're seeing the store being the principal media. And as such, I think the way brands measure performance in stores probably needs to evolve. I think there's been this obsession about like-for-like growth, which is an interesting metric. But at the end of the day, I think you should focus more on the Net Promoter Score, what people call NPS, which is basically what the consumer views are of a given experience. It's either incredibly positive and that will lead that consumer to influence people around her, or it's not that positive, and obviously that's going to be sort of negative media to a certain extent. It's difficult to measure NPS because it's not as if you'll be putting a push button at the exit of the store. But I think it's important to try to find ways to measure how happy or unhappy consumers have been with the experience that they've had.
Yeah, that's something which we see more and more is how can you measure the emotions received by the customers?
Yeah, because I think the real strength, if you do a good job in a store, is for you to basically transform a consumer into an influencer, a micro-influencer who will go around and tell all of her friends, family, co-workers, how fantastic the experience has been and how, you need to go and check out this or that store from this or that brand.
And what we talk about with the team is the role of the stores of building souvenirs.
Lasting memories, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Erwan, for these insights. One more time.
Pleasure.
And I'll be very much looking forward to meet with you for our next adventures.
Same here. Thank you very much for the.
Thank you, Erwan. Thank you.